So yeah, one more word of just recognition and reflection, because the leaders that I admire most aren't those that stand on the mountaintop and say, I have it figured out, I know the secrets of the universe. It's like, no. We're kind of done with the guru. Are we kind of done with gurus? I'm personally done with gurus. I want to meet the people that say, hey guys, I am in the mud. I am in the challenge. Here's how I'm getting through it. This worked for me. How does that resonate with you? These are my sophistication process. These are my tools and systems. And that's something that I see this courageous, compassionate man embody with probably the most intensity and detail of really anybody in my life right now. So, round of applause for the courage and the compassion he embodies. Zack Blakeney, wise, powerful, sophisticated, excellent. Thank you so much, brother. Take it away.
Thank you, brother. I receive a lot of my downloads through like visions and auditory, so I do a lot of drawing of like what I see and actually how things work energetically. So I want to start with a question. How many guys in the last year went through a grief portal? I want to take a second and honor that. Yeah. I want to do something together. This is a better way of honoring it. We're going to do a thymus thump. Have you guys ever heard of a thymus thump? Okay, so it goes like this. Want to do it together? All right, 3, 2, 1. Now what's cool about that is it's an instant nervous system regulator. By hitting your heart in that area, you raise your frequency into the heart center. So let that sit for a second. About 3 years ago, I set a clear, heart-centered invocation to be an open channel for spirit to work through me, speak through me, as me. In the past 3 years of my life, I've been on a tornado. Spinning, trying to get footing. I'm used to being a tree in my life, and now I'm the wind, and I'm the leaf, and I'm just being taken places. As I'm being taken places, it's like the wind just... My life was gone the way that I knew it. But as I was spinning, I was going through these initiations. And these initiations were invoked by grace coming in through my life, through the key of forgiveness. And I'll talk about that later. But as I was going through these initiations, the light of life started to expand within me. As I purged out energy from my past experiences, this light opened up and started to expand. And as it expanded, my intuitive nudges that used to be a feeling were a voice. And this voice started to tune and speak to me very clearly. And as it happened, the more tuning that I had with that resonance, the more I realized that I had spirit within me, speaking through me and guiding me just as I had asked. Until it gave me a message I didn't want to hear. So about 9 months ago, I sat in peyote for the first time. It'll be my last time with that beautiful medicine. I got everything I needed. But about an hour in, I'm sitting there and my head's kind of bobbling, and then like straight up channel opens. And Spirit asked me, why do you doubt yourself? And I said, well, what you're asking me to do is scary. Because the thing that Spirit calls us to also elicits the most fear. I'm going to go to the mic. Yeah. I really want to do it with this because I can draw with it, but we're going to go to the mic. Yeah. It's okay. Okay. Apparently, Spirit also wants to speak through the wind right now. So then Spirit said, well, when it comes from here, you know it's me. And I was grateful because I got another tuning. I was like, oh, okay, I'm tuned again. I'm starting to really know the resonance of Spirit within me. And then about 30 minutes later, I'm sitting there, and head starts bobbling again, and Spirit says, you can't be who you're meant to be with her. Now, her, for me, was a fiancée of 5 years. And we had built a business together. Matter of fact, in the first year of building a business together, we collected $500,000 in revenue. My life as I knew it was set. I had spent most of my life trying to find grounding and footing inside of what I thought I was meant to do. And yet Spirit was telling me that I can't be with her. And when I heard it, I removed myself. It was all men's retreat, so I removed myself and I go up to just to lay down. And my body's like squirming because it doesn't want to accept it. Resistance, resistance, and then I accepted it. And when I accepted it, my third eye opened and it was just like vision for my life. Now I left the retreat, I go back to be with her, and I'm just angry. I'm mad at God. And I'm angry because I'm like, I have this beautiful house, we have dogs, I have this beautiful fiance. I can't leave. And a couple of days later, she knew something was up. And we sit down and I'm talking to her and she's like, look, just tell me. I'm like, well, Spirit said that I can't be who I'm meant to be with you. And then I rationalized it because I still didn't want to accept it. I was like, well, maybe it means, I've been working as an operator with our systems. I know I'm meant to not do that. I know I'm meant to lead something. And maybe that's what it means. So let's just detangle the business. Except for the next month, I became more angry, more dissatisfied, and then my shadow started to express. And my shadow expressed in a way in which I broke a foundational agreement of our relationship in which I knew she would break up with me, and she did. And after that, I sat in this duality of wanting to know whether I was following Spirit or I was sabotaging my life, because I didn't know the difference. Until I realized that Spirit was leading me to see how I was sabotaging my life. So I had this unhealed abandonment wound that I thought I was healed through the past relationship, and nope, it was back with a vengeance. But it was really just a 5-year-old boy. A 5-year-old boy that wanted to be loved for who he was, not based off the performance that he had to do every day, who didn't get enough quality attention as a child from his mom. And then after I went through the process of integrating that part of me, then my 14-year-old teenage self popped up and he was angry. Because the woman that I was with was like the perfect woman that my 14-year-old self wanted to be with. And he was like, how did you f that up? So I had to go through that process and integrate him and love him. And then I didn't think I had a father wound, but I was wrong. I was so wrong. So then the father wound popped up of disappointment, and then I got to see that, and I'm like, oh my God, this is too much. Will it? And then I entered into the grief portal. And the grief portal was the most intense portal I've ever experienced in my life. My mouth was so expanded while I was grieving, just like this hole in my heart, but it was really a portal because as I was releasing the grief, I was also expanding my capacity to love. But it was interesting because I was like jumping timelines in my head. I'm like, the timeline God called me to. The timeline I was on. This was easy. Why did I leave? In the middle of the grief portal, I started getting on my phone because I didn't want to feel it anymore. At one point, I was on my phone for a day for 8 hours. And as I was on my phone, a gift was given to me. I saw an ad, and this ad was talking about dopamine addiction. But really, it's dopamine dysregulation. And I started going through the process and like seeing that the symptoms that I was experiencing was this. And right when that happened, Spirit popped up and said, this is what I'm calling you to. My children are distracted and they're disconnected from me. You get to experience this pain so that you can be the messenger of an awareness, of an awakening that even the most conscious people are hypnotized by. So here's the question. Have you ever been hypnotized before? Raise your hand. Okay, you guys should all be raising your hand. This is your number one hypnotist. And you've been hypnotized for the last 20 years without knowing it. Really let that sink in. Because what I'm about to show you might shock you. And even more so, I can tell you about it, but you're going to experience it. I'm going to throw this away for now. So let's talk about dopamine to start, and the slow, quiet drain of your dopamine. Now, dopamine is responsible for a few things: reward processing, motivation, movement, attention. Our sense of pleasure, it reinforces behaviors that lead to dopamine release, that include addictions. It also is responsible for your mood, your cognitive function, your memory, and maintaining your vital energy. I don't want to undersell this. This biochemical is the regulator of your nervous system, and it is out of whack as a collective. So let me show you. Let's say that the middle line is a regulated dopamine, okay? This is regulated. And as the screens came out, we started to do something. We started to spike our dopamine. And as we spiked our dopamine, we also drained our dopamine. And then we spiked our dopamine, and then we drained our dopamine. And we kept doing this over and over and over and over again. Every single time you pick up your phone and you mindlessly scroll, this is happening. And this is high levels, and this is low levels. And it does not matter. Now I want you to see that as your nervous system. That if you really want to be in a receivership, as Preston was talking about earlier, a relaxed nervous system, I promise you, you can't do it by unconsciously scrolling on your phone. It is the number one dysregulator that you experience. This is where this gets hard. So I could tell you about this, but then you could also experience it for yourself. My intention for this talk is to bring you to an expanded level of awareness, then also show you how you can enter into your unconscious shadow, then alchemize them into empowering thoughts, and then release the past from your energy field through the Hermetic principles. I'm going to show you this because there's a lot of talk at these type of events, and I love it. They say, I just love the shadow. But sometimes when we're so ingrained into past beliefs that have been reinforced by experiences, loving the shadow seems impossible. But I can bridge it for you. So the first thing I want to have you guys do, just take 2 minutes, scan this QR code. It's a quiz. And it's going to give you a score, just to test where your dopamine levels are currently at. So take 2 minutes, and then we'll be back. Come on up. Has everybody got to a score? Okay.
Curious if it's different for ADHD people.
Well, here's the question. Are you ADHD or are you programmed to be ADHD?
I mean, I've been ADHD since like before they were just blanket diagnosing everybody
Okay.
that 40 years ago.
So again, there's a difference between adult onset ADHD, which, cool.
I was failing school and they put me on Ritalin and then I was the best in class.
Well, there's also the actual imbalance of biochemicals that creates that, which again, if you found result and you found reward from the medication, then I would say that that is you.
I'm just wondering if this makes it worse.
It would. It doesn't matter whether you're ADHD or not. So, guys, transparency is your key to freedom. You have an opportunity right now to be transparent. So, by a show of hands, how many guys scored in the red? Okay. How many guys scored in the yellow? Okay. How many guys scored in the green? There's no shame here. There's just recognition. That's all that is that quiz is just a mirror, right, of what's happening in your unconscious. So there's a question that I have for you, is that why are you choosing connect with a screen over yourself? And the second question to consider is, what patterns are you both avoiding and simultaneously reinforcing? Because what happens is that when we actually get onto the phone because we're avoiding being uncomfortable and we move into scrolling, we don't escape that level of consciousness. We now start looking for the things to reinforce the uncomfortability that we're feeling. And over time, I want you to think about 20 years of this. 20 years of that part of your unconscious being reinforced in potential competition, comparison, feeling not good enough, and then using the screen as an outlet of what you think is safe, but again, keeps you in the same dysregulated state that you were in. So the first level of your transformation is actually focusing on reviving your dopamine levels. It's very simple to do. I'll talk about that privately with you guys because I only have an hour. But I want you to really realize the insidiousness of what this can be, because here's a study for you. In 2009, they did a study on porn, and they found out that the birth of video pornography and imagery, there was a big difference between how quickly it reprograms your subconscious. Still imagery was very little. Video pornography, 10 times the amount reprogramming your unconscious. Now, I want you to think about the video content that's on this phone, right? And let's say maybe you're on the phone for 5 hours. And maybe 2 hours is conscious and 3 hours is unconscious. Except for when you're unconscious, you're also being hypnotized in a theta wave state, and you're intaking information at 10 times the rate that you did. Which means that the 3 hours that you're on your phone unconscious is actually an intense measure of 30 hours. Doesn't make sense to the amount of time that you're waking. I'm just trying to give you an example of really understanding what's happening when you're being hypnotized. Because it's in that space that's preventing your nervous system from receiving. So let's start talking about a few things. There's 7 core wounds of humanity. I'm just going to talk about 4. And this is about exploring into your shadow. What I'm about to give you is 4 questions. And in understanding these questions, that if you were to use them consistently, you would consistently go into your unconscious and find your unconscious limitations. So the first core wound of humanity is hiding. And hiding is a symptom of shame. There is not one thing that you hide that you do not feel some level of shame about. And it's the things that we hide are the things that create our suffering to continue. The second one is denying or repression. And we are very, very good at denying. Our mind is adept at denial. But there's a tricky thing about denial, is that what you deny, you empower to exist. The only way it exists is by your denial and the energy of it. Because if there was nothing to deny, it wouldn't exist. So please know that your mind does this. I'm going to be putting all this together and showing you how it works, because I'm going to give you what I call the human operating system. But keep this in mind. The next one is lying. Lying. This is guilt. And lying is sneaky. Have you ever had a bad day? And then somebody's there that really wants to hold space for you and say, hey man, I see that you're kind of hurting. Are you okay? You go, I'm fine. You're lying. And here's the thing, you're also robbing that person for providing a service for you. And on a very deep level, you want that support. And you're simultaneously rejecting the support you want and the service the person wants to give to you. And the last one is trying. And this is a source of separation where you try and be something that you're not. Now, I came up with these walls when I was healing from porn addiction. I was addicted to porn for 16 years. When I got out of the addiction, I said, man, I hid the addiction. I then denied that it was a problem. I lied about it to others. And I tried to heal by myself, but I couldn't do it. But then I got out of the addiction, and I realized that the real addiction is the addiction to not being yourself. Because we all struggle with it. So these 4 questions, if you were to use these 4 questions, let's just say monthly. Every month you did a check-in and you asked yourself, what am I hiding from others that I don't want them to know about me? What am I saying that I don't want that I actually have? How am I lying to myself and others? And who am I trying to be that does not align with my soul? If you ask yourself those questions every month, do inventory, you will come up with your shadow. And you'll find all the different unconscious, subconscious limiting thoughts that are associated with that behavior. It's like cleaning. And I want to let you guys know, your shadow doesn't disappear. As much as you think it does, it doesn't disappear. It's not for it to be denied, it's for it to be integrated. I'm going to show you how to integrate. So let's be talking about the hermetic path to alchemy and healing. And really what I want to tell you is that this is the path to miracles. And I know that we could say that all of life is a miracle and every breath I take is a miracle. No, I'm talking about an invocation of grace that leaves you with no doubt of your divinity. And it's a repeatable process. I'm excited to finish my own story, but I've also had 50 plus people come through and experience the exact thing I'm talking about right now. So let's look at this. I first want to talk about your soul's contextual belief. He's talking about Preston was talking about a context. This is really powerful. So soul's contextual belief creates your foundational resonant field that is natural, easy, and magnetic. Now what I mean by that is that we're all fractals, right, of the Creator, right? We're on our energetic beings. When you take the time to truly claim what your resonance is, what context you're holding, who I am when I just walk around and do nothing, you then start to have a contextual foundation for everything that you create. And not only that, but everything that you create then has content that is brought back to you through these principles. So here's what it looks like. Using the principle of mentalism, which is that the all is mind, the universe is mental. It's the number 1 principle. So that tells you that your thoughts, being the mind of God in your own way, right, create your resonance. So if I have this, as a context, it's a container. And the content is in the container. And everything that I claim my context to be, I will then attract through the principle of vibration into my field. For instance, my context is that I exist in a field in which I have a deep and intimate relationship with God, and I invite others to do the same. That's my context. So when I go into experiences like that, like this, I find myself having a lot of conversations about being connected with God. I don't seek it, it just happens. Because I've claimed my resonant field. Now I'll also tell you how this applies to business. When I was shown this, my business, it's called Born Free. It's about you remembering that you were born a sovereign being. And when I first started advertising my business and the way that I'm doing it now, I was like, oh, this is about reclaiming time and focus and attention. And it didn't resonate. I was like, that's not really resonating. What's off? And I remember what God told me. He said, this isn't about distraction. This is about disconnection. This is about getting them back connected. So then I came to that. I was like, oh, my marketing message is off. And so if my marketing message is off from my context, then I'm not having people come to me in my magnetic field. Once I changed it to connection, started getting Instagram DMs and people talking to me. It was that instant because I claimed my resonant field. So I challenge you guys, and this is an interesting thing to say challenge because it's actually what's easy. It's what you do. It's who you are. And if you can claim it with that principle of mentalism, you then start to create that well of attraction that happens at a much faster rate. The next thing I want to show you is something that you might get addicted to in a good way. So we're going to use the principle of polarity, and I'm going to show you how to alchemize limiting thoughts into empowering thoughts. Okay? So let's say you go into your shadow. And by going into your shadow, you find some limiting thoughts. This is much more difficult because my whiteboard is sturdy. Now, the principle of polarity says that there are two sides to the same coin, or you would say that there are equal and opposite forces in the universe, right? Whenever you think about the principle of polarity, typically we think about the yin and yang. You see this symbol, it's an ancient symbol, and it shows us that there's black and there's white, right? And that they're equal and opposite forces. So let's just talk about scarcity and abundance, just because this has been a talk for today. And on one side of the polarity is scarcity. The other side is abundance. And the neutrality of this line is, let's call it wealth. Now, in between scarcity and abundance, there are different degrees. Okay? And we'll just call this 0, negative 100, positive 100. Now, when you have a limiting thought, does anybody want to share a scarce thought that maybe you experience in your subconscious? It's too late. Okay, so it's too late. Now let's just call that negative 1,000. How to alchemize this is that you're in your mind saying it's too late. It's too late to live your purpose. It's too late for everything. Okay, so this is the type of thought that I say has a strong field of protection around it. That strong field of protection needs to be loosened. The way that you loosen it is just by asking this question. How does it benefit me that it's too late right now? Okay? Then through that process, you're going to list as many benefits as you can. Continuing. What that does is it starts to loosen up this too late, and it starts to move it into more neutrality. You start to lessen the energetic attachment to that thought. By doing so, you're also bringing in the other side of the polarity. That would be a black side polarity. Now you're opening up the white side. By opening up the white side, you lessen the energetic intensity, and then you just review all of these different positive benefits, and I promise you, your consciousness will come up with an empowering thought, something that's completely different. Inside of that, that becomes the complete opposite of positive 100. And over time, you take that thought and you ingrain it into your field every single day. You claim it over and over and over again. As you do that, you're going to start seeing something happen. You're going to start noticing how it's not too late. You're going to start noticing all the opportunities that you have in front of you right now. You might start noticing that the people that are right across from you are in a field that says that you're perfect and whole right now. And this is how this starts to occur. So just to give you an idea, there's 4 steps to thought alchemy using the principle of polarity. Become aware of your limiting thoughts. Write them down. You could do this. I'll just tell you, I still do this. I do it almost every day. Neutralize limiting thought with as many positive benefits as possible. Create a new empowering belief to neutralize the process, and then reaffirm the new empowered belief to stabilize your identity. If you did this for 21 days, you're going to start to see synchronicities and magic happen in your life because you start to become magnetic to who you say you are. And if you guys know anything about conscious, your subconscious is what is attracting. So it's about bringing the subconscious to conscious and then creating this as the new subconscious program. This brings your mind into what I call a state of resolve. And a state of resolve is in which the conscious and subconscious mind comes into an agreement that the pattern no longer serves you and who you're becoming. When your mind comes into agreement, it starts to loosen it. It stops arguing with you. Once it starts to loosen and starts arguing with you, the body feels safe to release. I'll talk about how that happens. So there's an energetic plane of cause as well. Do you guys know this? Have you seen this? Okay, the scale of consciousness. Okay, in this scale of consciousness, you can see that there are different scales or different planes of existence. And inside of these planes, you have different effects that you experience. So at the very bottom, even though it's hard to see, the very bottom is shame. And it has a vibrational frequency of 20 hertz. You can imagine that as a plane of consciousness. And from that plane of consciousness, there are different effects that you experience. So from shame, there's thoughts and there's behaviors that I do. A lot of times that's played out in our phone. We bring that plane of consciousness that we're avoiding inside of ourselves, we reinforce it with our phone. So when we're looking at it from the space, you can also look at the plane of love. And at that plane of consciousness, there is different thoughts and behaviors that I do from love. So the process to bringing shame into love starts in the mind with the thoughts and then learning how you as an energetic being. Now I'm going to show you. So let's talk about the principle of rhythm. The principle of rhythm states that the swing to the left is a swing to the right in perfect harmony. The pendulum always manifests, and it always manifests in this harmony. So you can witness this in the creation. You can witness this from the tide, right? So when the water crashes into the shore, and then it comes back into the tide, if you put a pendulum there, it's a perfect swing every single time. The creation is perfect. When you take a breath, and it comes back in, there's a perfect swing of the breath every single time. And it works with your emotions. So give me a second with the whiteboard. We're going to get through it. Yeah. All right. So here's the pendulum. One side, let's call this side shame. And let's just call this side love. Okay? Now this is how people become emotionally numb. Most people are only willing to experience a little bit of sadness. And since the pendulum manifests in the same swing, they only get access to a little bit of happiness. We want this, but because we're not willing to go into the depths of our own unconscious pain, we lose access to the love that we want. And over time, that resistance continues to settle down into apathy. And that's the numbing aspect of this, right? So here, all of this, whatever this might be, and this isn't a shaming course or anything, this is just for you to look at this as a mirror. All of this right here is what needs to be alchemized. Because ultimately the thing that you're reaching for as a desire. And I'll use an airplane for an example. For an airplane to take off from the runway, what does it need? Speed, fuel, lift, pilot, direction, maybe design either, right? But what happens if that plane is too heavy? Will it take off from the runway? No, it won't. So you can think about this in your business. You can have the design, you can have the pilot, I'm driving this thing, the whole thing. But every time I try and take off, I get pulled back down. And I keep looking up of what I want when really I need to be looking in. What is the weight that I need to pull away? Because that's how ascension occurs. Ascension doesn't occur by you wanting to do it. It occurs by you purging the energy out of your energy field and just floating. floating into this higher plane of consciousness. So, let's also talk about the principle of cause and effect. Yeah, that'd be great. Please. Thank you. Well, there was a point where I was about to start riffing, because that might need what's needed.
You need help.
Thank you. Thank you for your assistance. What's your name? Isis. Please give Isis a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ra is a being that I connect with, so thank you, Isis. Okay, so on the plane of effect and the plane of cause, I'm going to show you how you can identify a pattern without getting lost in the plane of effect, okay? So I'm going to use my experiences. When I was in 7th grade, I made an F in French. Now, my parents expected me to get good grades. So what do you think I made that mean about myself? Not good enough, not smart enough, right? So not smart enough, we're just going to put not enough. And what is the plane of consciousness of not enough?
Not worthy of love. Not worthy.
What's the plane of consciousness? Shame. There you go, Scott. So shame. So that was F in 7th grade. Now, when I was 14 years old, I watched porn for the first time. And I was raised in a Catholic family. That was a sin. What do you think I made that mean? Guilt and shame, right? So let's just say not enough, shame. When I was 19, I was a really great baseball player, but when I got to college, for some reason, I hit this limitation in which I thought that I wasn't good enough, right? So, shame. And when I was 30 years old, I got divorced. I got divorced because porn addiction came out, couldn't handle it. A lot of stories inside of there. But what do you think I made that mean? Not enough. Shame. Okay? So we have seemingly 4 different experiences. 7th grade, failing French, porn, quit baseball, divorce. Running on the effect side, but the plane of consciousness that was creating it was shame. So this is what happens when, we date a new person and we think that person is like a new person. We're like, oh, this person is completely different than my last person that I was with. And then you get into it and it's like the same person, right? Because in the plane of effect, we've tricked ourselves to believe that it's something different than it is. But really, if we go to the plane of cause, which is the plane that creates everything that happens in your life, and you start to recognize that it's coming from this plane of shame, then we can start to actually heal the pattern. So a lot of people work with their thoughts, and I showed you how to work with your thoughts in that way. But until we actually start dealing with the plane of cause, then we're ultimately going to continue the pattern that we don't want to experience. Thank you, Isis. I'm going to go one more, and then I'm going to be done with the board, because I want to put this all together. Okay. I'll draw a stick figure. And again, I'm going to use my experiences one more time. Okay? So we're going to first use the understanding that I experienced the shame when I was in 7th grade. And that created shame that happened in my lower energy centers. Now what happened is the body starts to inform me of the experience of shame, because this body is a vehicle of love. It was only made to hold love. Anything other than love, the body for you is going to let you know what it would like to release. So it lets my conscious mind know, hey, I'm experiencing shame. I don't want to feel that. And what does the mind do? It denies it. So I don't want to feel shame either. When it denies, it pushes it back down into the body. Now I'm holding that resonance inside of my body. Now, principle of vibration, I vibrate out. And then, of course, with the principle of correspondence, I get a corresponding experience. That corresponding experience is porn. That then goes into my body. I experience shame again. My body wants to let me know I don't want to feel that. I push that back down into my body, and now I'm starting to hold on to more shame. Now, I vibrate that out, and the universe is happy to correspond with a new experience, quitting porn, bring that in, boom, 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 continues, right? All right, I'm going to be done with the board now. There's a lot I could go inside of that. But that board is the bane of my existence right now. So this is how you actually work as an energetic being. I want you to understand that your body is working for you. Your body is already in harmony with the light of life. The light of life is all around you. It's the consciousness of everything. And when we're born into this world, we're born as that light of life. We don't have any conditioning. We don't have any conditions. We just allow ourselves to experience what we are. And then as we start going through conditioning, that light of life starts to become compressed. Because victim consciousness takes over, right? And this is where we actually feel disconnected from source and disconnected from ourselves. But as you go through the healing experience and you start to purge out the energy of the past through going through this process that I'm talking about, moving into a plane of resolve, and I'm going to show you how to get to a plane of release, that light starts to expand. And maybe we move into creator consciousness. And creator consciousness is where we start to say, okay, life is happening by me. There's something inside of me that's actually influencing this reality to exist in my favor. But even in that state, we're still just now starting to take responsibility for our life. We're still just now starting to maybe do some inner child work and wanting to heal and go through that process, right? But as we start to step more into who we are as a creator, we then can move into more purging experiences of healing where it opens up and we move into channel consciousness. And this is where that light gets loosened up enough where the channel starts coming through you, right? And then you start speaking from that voice that's inside of you that you know. But I'll tell you one thing. We're in a time in which we're all being called to ascend to a new plane of consciousness. And that plane of consciousness is being as life. And that takes a lot of trust. That is the most confronting and last leg of your karma that's sitting inside of you that says, I'm afraid of life. I'm afraid what it might mean if I allow myself to just let go. But it's inside of that state in which we find the state of miracles and synchronicities. So let's look at the body state of release. So the body state of release is a state in which the body releases energy from past associated living patterns and traumas by accessing grace through the key of forgiveness. How many of you guys, what type of relationship do you have with forgiveness? Would you call it good? Expansive? Beautiful? There's a reason why Christ taught it. Right? It really is the ending of energetic inertia of a pattern. So really that's what karma is. It's really just the energetic inertia of a pattern. So if I was using the whiteboard again, and I was showing you, that energetic inertia of shame that was moving, right? What happens is that when we access forgiveness and we target it towards the cause of the pattern, it's like Archangel Michael's sword, cutting off the pattern of energy, and then the body expresses it out of the energy field. And this has been my experience for the past 3 years. And this experience is something, again, that you can't actually quantify in a way that even makes sense to the experience of feeling it. So, if I use the principle of cause and effect, I'm just going to use an example of what happened to me, and then I'm going to finish up the story. So the first time I actually accessed this, I got called to go into a private space, and I was doing some channeling. So I was channeling with Ra. And as I was channeling with Ra, I was also being greeted by a negative being simultaneously. And the negative being was influencing me to watch porn. And Ra was telling me, hey, just keep breathing out the energy. You can continue to channel. But after I was done, I was really spent. It was like 5 hours of channeling and writing. And I got done, I had an epiphany. I said, well, the fact that this negative being is still influencing my field means that the shame of watching porn is still in my field. So Spirit called me to draw a bath, and it was a perfect place to draw a bath because there was this nice, like, huge tub, some Epsom salt, and I put out, like, my incense and a candle, and I had a quartz crystal. I put it all around, and I put my hands to prayer center, and the intention comes through, and it says, I intend to forgive myself for choosing to shame my sexual expression. Now, I'll tell you that I attempted to forgive myself for watching porn hundreds of times. Nothing ever really changed. I felt better temporarily, but I kept having to do it over and over and over again. It's because I was trying to forgive the effect. It doesn't work. But when I did this, another thing happened. 3 more steps of the intention came through. After I said that, I said, I willfully accept all things needed for my intention to become manifest. All things are possible through you, Father. And so it is. And this is a magical 4-step intention, because once I got into the bath, an energy channel came over me. And then I started to cry from the depth of my root and sacral. As I was crying, all these flashes of porn and sexual shame were leaving my field simultaneously. And then it swung to the other side, where I just started laughing hysterically about how ridiculous sexual shame even is. And I sat in that. And then after that happened, what happened is I experienced both emotions at polarity, wiped it clean, it left, my body fills, and then there's voices inside of me cheering me on. Yeah, you did it, you did it. And this is the first interaction I had with Spirit truly inside of me and speaking to me through the process. And then afterwards, Spirit was like, well, you're not special. This is a repeatable process. You can show others how to do this. I said, okay, I'll do that. So then I started to do this over and over again. And now I want to come to the beginning of my story and wrap it up with the miracle that I experienced just a couple of months ago. So I got really low. The grieving that I experienced put my body into a CPTSD symptom, which is hypervigilance. And what was happening is while I was trying to go to sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning, I would be awakened, cortisol would run through my body, and then this feeling of dread would come over me. And as that happened, I started to revisit suicidal thoughts. Now, I've had suicidal thoughts before, but I've never had my body convincing me that that's what I thought it wanted. Every time I've had suicidal thoughts before, I'm like, oh, okay, ego, just die. There's a party that wants to die. We're going to go through this process. But my body was convinced. This happened for a month. And I sat in this grief, and my nervous system was dysregulated, and I didn't know what to do. And I was so lost inside of it that I forgot my own principles of how to get out. So one of my buddy, Justin Lovato, he invites me to his retreat, and it's a psilocybin retreat. The night before psilocybin, I get woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning, same thing, could not go back to sleep, start thinking in my mind, man, I really shouldn't do this. I really shouldn't do this. Not a good state for medicine right now. But then as I got up and I go my day, and then Spirit pops up and says, you need to forgive yourself for not trusting me. I said, okay. So I do the same thing before the medicine. I do my 4-step intention. I choose to forgive myself for not trusting me, or trusting God. And then as I'm in the medicine, I'm starting to talk to some friends. And it's the first time I openly admit that I did not have the courage to follow what God was calling me to. And that was the origin of all of my suffering. It was that moment where God said, you need to leave the relationship. And I said, don't want to. Don't want to, that's scary. So I'm telling these guys, and I'm openly being transparent about it, which is starting to bring the mental into the frame of resolve. And then I go and I sit down with my buddy Justin and another friend. And I'm like, look, brother, I can see the pattern. I can see my thoughts. I can see the behaviors. I can see my shadow. I've even taken responsibility for not following God, but I cannot seem to release this emotional suffering. And right as I said that, my body just went red. I got super nauseous. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to throw up. And I get up. I take about 3 or 4 steps, not going to make it to the bathroom. I drop down into child's pose, and just the 3 most deep, energetic purges I've ever felt in my life. No food. I can't even do it because it wasn't of me. When I stand up from the experience, all of my suffering is gone. Everything is gone. When I go and sit down, I'm in a self-realized state where I can see everything, and there's an energetic channel that typically for me is about yay wide. It was my entire body. And I'm watching Justin across from me shaking and crying, and then I'm watching my other friend like crying through the process, and it was just this entire experience. A little bit later, I go and I sit on the toilet, and for whatever reason, I have really incredible experiences on the toilet. And I'm sitting there, and I'm so grateful to God. I'm like, thank you. And it's like it opened up into the unseen, and then from the unseen came this love, and it overtook me. And God said, this is the type of love that a father should give a son. And from that point in my life, it's like I left the timeline of suffering and came back to the timeline where I chose to follow God. And I will never not do that again. Because I was given a gift. And it's a gift that I want to give to you guys as well. Because again, I'm not special. So if you followed a repeat process, now I've done this with psilocybin, I've also had these experiences without it. Just want to make that known. That this is a repeatable process that through your own experiences of having the courage to go into the plane of cause, to really look at the things that are holding you back, to get into a plane, to a state of resolve in your mind, and to ask for forgiveness for the cause of the pattern will bring this type of experience for you. So I'm going to end with a story that really inspired me while I was in the depth of this, and then we can open up with some questions if we have time. So a man gets to the end of his life, and the man goes up to heaven, and he's with God. And they're reviewing the man's life, and as they're reviewing the man's life, he's looking down, and he can now see that there are actually two pairs of footsteps the entire time. They're his, and they're God's. And he looks to God, and he says, God, thank you for being with me through my life. I didn't know you were there. Thank you. And as they're reviewing it a little bit further, during the man's darkest times, he sees that there's only one pair of footsteps. He goes back to God to rebuke God and says, God, why did you forsake me and leave me during my darkest times? And God says, son, you are mistaken. During your darkest times, I carried you, and those are my footsteps. So I want you to know, thank you, that's not from me. So I just want you to know that it doesn't matter where you are with your life. The pathway of responsibility to you being a co-creator of this experience is yours. And then there's a whole other experience of the divine working through you that is for your highest good if you just have the courage to trust life. And then you might become it. And then you might start to see things that you never thought you would ever see. Do we have time for Q&A? I don't know where I'm at. Thank you. Okay. All right. You guys have any questions about what I discussed or taught? No? Was I thorough?
I will tell you that I heard that story of God many times, but the way you show it, it's beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So I participated with the it's too late, right? Dark thought. So my conscious mind, I've done so much work on my mindset that's actually not a thought that I'm choosing. Like most of my thoughts that I'm choosing actively are anything is possible. Like I create my reality. And there's these little gremlin thoughts still that feel like I'm not in control of those, right? So I'm wondering if the system works for bringing those out of the shadows and processing those. Is it the...
Yep, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, those are, I would say that, look, we are in a collective, like you guys are all sharing an energy field right now. Sometimes we pick up on thoughts from other people, but if we're picking it up from other people, you're still resonant with the field. You're only going to bring into your field what's resonant inside of you. And then if they have energetic intensity, which it sounds like these do, they were offered to you and you chose to accept it. So you might have not chose the belief in a sense of the creator of the belief, but you chose to ingrain it into your identity. So what happens is like you guys could have a thought right now, something like, man, I'm going to kill this dude. And that thought would be so outside of who you are that he'd be either laugh at it or it would just like pass. But when a thought comes into our field that we're already resonant with and we grab onto it, once that happens, we start graining it into our energetic identity. And now it's your responsibility to clean it up. Cool.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that it? Okay.
Hi, Zach.
Hi.
I'm wondering on the quiz when it asks about not having dreams at all.
Mm-hmm.
What's the relevance?
So we were actually at, and I say hey to Farrah. What's up, Farrah? I was at a retreat with Farrah. She was graceful enough to actually invite me to Maui, which was really cool. And there was a guy named Ruben, and he studies dreams. And it's his belief, and also it's very much true for me as well, is that we are dream deprived as a collective, and that inside of your consciousness, the time of dreaming is actually a time where you can accelerate your consciousness at a very fast rate by being intentional about your dreams. So I have moments where I'll set intentions to want to receive guidance from my higher self before dreams, and it actually is a learning tool. If you guys have ever heard of Dhamma is in Italy, and their masters actually study in a way in which they sit and they preserve their energy during the day so that at night and they dream, they can astral project and be conscious. And they say that you can expand your consciousness at 300 times the rate in your dreams because your soul is limitless. Now, again, I don't know, 300 times, all that kind of stuff, but their philosophy is a philosophy that many people subscribe to. So I would say that if you're not dreaming, start looking at the things that might be preventing you from dreaming. Are you, by chance, smoking any marijuana?
No.
Do you take anything to go to sleep?
No.
Okay, you just find that there's not a lot of dreaming?
Yeah, and I sleep really well, like
That's
8 hours a night.
That's wonderful.
I will dream during my snooze button
Okay.
if I push it.
The invocation of your intention can create what happens in the dream world. So just for tonight, set an intention in which you can remember and be cognizant of the lessons that you're being offered in your dream and ask your higher self to come to you for confirmation. See what happens.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you see relationship between pornography and want to kill yourself?
There can be. It's not a relationship with pornography, it's a relationship with a demonic entity that has overtaken our collective.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll just talk about this for a second, because ultimately, if you're looking at porn, and if we're looking at our pathway to ascension as beings, it's through the sacral center. So if we are not fully expressed in our sexuality, and no shame, that's how we're covering it, what porn does is it suppresses that energy to stay in the sacral. And if it stays in the sacral, it stays blocked, and it doesn't actually have an opportunity to go into the heart. The heart is where we alchemize, and then we release the energy through the top of the channel. Releasing it through the top of the channel and opening up the channel is what allows that energy, and the energy of God, the Creator, comes from below. And then the ascension that we're talking about, it's not an ascension of higher consciousness in something outside of you. It's an ascension from the yellow energy center to the green. Because once our consciousness, our seat of consciousness becomes our causal body, then we start to embody our soul. But that only happens with full 100% acceptance of all of you. And the last leg that the negative path uses from you ascending to a higher plane of consciousness is to shame your sexual expression. And it is designed that way. Not only through religion, but also through porn. So when I actually got out of pornography, the last thing that really helped me was the realization that every single time I watched, I was intertangling with a demonic entity. 5 minutes? Okay. And with that process, that's what let me let it go, that level of awareness. Do you have a question? Yeah, sure.
I wanted to ask you, so with forgiveness, it sounds easy, right? Mm-hmm. But you're saying it took you a long time to forgive the shame. But what other things can you do, especially when it's like relating to a relationship or a partner or, your mom, whatever, to an actual person, not something you're addicted to per se. what kind of steps can you take to help forgive? I mean, obviously, I'm sorry, I love you, like those kind of things are present, but how do you deep down forgive? Like, how do you really, your body actually forgives, that step to do that?
You need to take responsibility for your part in the relationship that hurt you. That's really hard, especially when we have experiences growing up, maybe mothers or fathers that abused us, loved ones that abused us. It's very hard for us even to recognize that even at a young age that we would have some level of responsibility in our naivete, except for the fact that we are responsible the moment we become conscious of our thoughts. That doesn't excuse, and again, I don't want to call this victim shaming, I'm saying for you, there's something that interaction with your mother, let's just say, that you responded to in a way that's hurting you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
By you being, like, for instance, by you being angry at her, what are you holding in your field?
Holding anger.
Anger.
Yeah.
What is anger doing to your nervous system?
Not treating me well.
So that's the choice that you made to the response of how she treated you.
Okay.
And if you direct your forgiveness towards your choice to be angry at your mother, but really your choice to hold anger inside of your own being, that's the flame of cause, you'll start to see a shift inside of yourself, and you might be surprised how your mother starts interacting with you afterwards.
So going deep inside to find it without even,
The experiences that I run with the Liberated Retreat, I'll have people that come through it that have this type of thing, and then they have their mother or somebody reach out to them that they have not talked about, and they apologize to them without having to ask for it. Because I've changed my field, I'm in a different timeline, and in this timeline, my mother apologizes to me. Because I chose to transverse into that timeline. That's the only way it happens. But it happens through you looking at your participation and how what you chose to respond to hurt you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
That, and then I think I gotta wrap it. Okay, one. Okay, no, I'll talk to you afterwards. What's up?
I want to deep dive into this further. This was not enough. Do you have a course or a workshop or a retreat?
Yes, I have all the above.
Thanks.
We can talk about it. Yes, thank you, Isis, and thank you for the help as well. And thank you for everybody that chose to listen to my opinions.
Thank you, Zack. One more time. Give it up for Zack. Amazing. Before we go to the next thing, you guys kind of know the flow now. Every time I'm up here, I ask you a question. Consider, what is like the biggest thing that awakened in you in Zack's talk right now? I want you to just like take that in you. Take a moment. If you want to close your eyes and look at the trees, let that in. Really consider in one sentence or one phrase what you got from that last hour with Zack. What are you going to remember? What must you remember? And how are you going to act it out? What are you going to do about it? Amazing. So I'm here to invite you into dinner, and also to remind you that at 7 o'clock, Dr. Samuel Lee is going to be here giving us the goods. You do not want to miss that. What time are you being back?